You are listening to Seniors Junction podcast. We are preventing seniors isolation one conversation at a time. I'm Paul Merkley, your host today, co-founder of Seniors Junction. My guest today is my friend Kathleen Vipond, and we're going to talk about activities and how they can be helpful. Welcome, Kathleen.
Thank you very much. I feel honored that you invited me to be your first speaker.
Well, this is it. This is the second season, and it's a whole new ball game, and I'm very excited about it. So, you impress me as someone who understands the value for a person of activities.
Absolutely.
What are some of the things that, some of the things you do yourself that you find valuable?
Well, I guess over the years, as I've retired, I've found my breadth of activities has increased and increased. I started with just doing charitable collecting with the neighbors and getting to know neighbors that I hadn't known when I was teaching. And then I moved out from there to going to being the head of a residents association and getting to know other residents associations and working to try to save a waterfront park here in Burlington, and then deciding that I really would like clubs. So I went to clubs, and I think really that's a salvation. It's a place where you can do what you love. You can find new things that you really would like to do, and you find new people that you really want to do things with, and it gives you a new purpose in life.
So you've mentioned the two things that we keep hammering on about in Seniors Junction, expanding your circle of acquaintances, meeting new people, and having a purpose, finding something to look forward to, something you really love and find valuable.
And something that gives you a feeling of worthiness. I think people underestimate what canvassing for a charity can do, or going into work at a food place that needs help. It gives you a feeling of community, but it also gives you a feeling of being worthy. And so you're giving and you're getting back at the same time, which is, I think, what clubs do for you too. But I think for some people, if they don't think they want a club, these charitable activities are absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. So when you make a difference in the world, that's a powerful resource for you. That's a good feeling, and
Exactly.
these start to build. Um,
Exactly. And
self-esteem is not a thing that's abstract. Self-esteem is built by actions.
that's right. And even the canvassing itself, if you choose to do your own neighborhood, you end up meeting all the neighbors. And my husband used to laugh because I'd go out to collect and I'd come back an hour later and he'd say, "How many did you get?" Well, I only got to 3 houses because we were chatting. The more you do it, the more you know the people, and the more fun it is. It's really a social time as well as anything else.
We had a, a retired professor on the podcast whose research was on what he called serious leisure. In other words, he said, well, some things, watching television could be leisure, but it's not by his definition serious leisure. What are some of the things that you do that you consider particularly worthwhile or serious leisure?
Well, I guess if you want to go back a little bit, I guess the University Women's Club gave me the chance to be a soloist and an assistant conductor for their choir. And it gave me a chance to stay in the music field, which was my job, and to be able to be in front of people again and not get nervous about being in front of people when I took over for the conductor. Um, and when I came here, I joined Newcomers Club here in Burlington and found that they didn't have a women's choir. So I established one and started conducting it, did that for years. And I think that's the kind of thing where if you stop doing it, you lose it. You lose your voice, or you lose the ability to get in front of people. So I think that is a serious occupation. And I've very much appreciated that. And also the Newcomers Club, I played social bridge finally in 11 groups. And it was exhausting getting ready for people to come or to go and to have lunches and, little snacks for people. But it gave me a chance to get better at what I did. Now, I think that turns into something that improves your mind. Eventually, I said, "Okay, I'm ready to try duplicate," and Ross and I went into that world and have loved it. It's not ugly and difficult, and people are really very pleasant on the whole. So it was really a nice change. So if you're talking about serious, I think just being serious about keeping your mental faculties going is so important.
Which you certainly do when you're playing this kind of bridge. And you're a formidable bridge player, and it keeps us all sharp and focused.
And kudos to you. You and I are often north, south, east, west.
We square off. That's right. That's right. And such a game for mental sharpness and communication
And you
picking
learn
up.
your entire life. Bridge isn't something people say, how long will it take to learn? And I laugh. You've never totally learned it. There's always something new.
So these are the things that Professor Stebbins emphasized. Something that takes a little bit of effort, something you can get better at. Something that, as you say, becomes a thing that you're proud of, or you feel glad you've done it,
Yes.
in one way or another. And then it can also be like dropping a pebble in the center of the pond, and there are ripples, and other people pick up on it, right? It's like
Yeah.
your choir. Think of how many people you gave purpose to by conducting those choirs.
Yeah.
It's a great
I
thing
hope
to
so.
do.
I
I'm
hope so.
sure
I've
you
certainly
did.
met many of my former students, and they're all in choirs, which is great.
Oh, isn't that lovely? Isn't
Yeah.
that lovely? So, making this point, have you come across seniors who seem to be isolated?
Yes. Yes. I know of one just recently. His wife was a good friend of mine, and we did do things with him as couples, but they really isolated as a couple. And once she passed away from cancer, which was not a surprise. She's had cancer on and off for 32 years, but he never broadened their perspectives beyond going for walks and doing the gym and originally playing bridge. But he was very careful, partially because of a heart problem, and partially because they just adored their relationship and didn't need anybody else. And as a result, I know in the last 2 months since she passed away, he's sitting in his condo and he's not ready to come out. And I think that's dangerous. It's very sad, and something has to be done about it.
Oh, you're
I'm
right. It
about
is
to do
dangerous.
something about it.
Well, good for you.
Well,
Good
I
for you.
tried to
What
get him to join
can you do?
Roseland Club, but now the membership is closed. He's waited just long enough. So
Mm.
we'll see what we can do. A dinner with you and a few other
Well, I
widowers.
think that's a fine idea. And in general, I think that widowers are one of the groups that really tends to self-isolate. It's one
The
of the.
problem is that most times, not always, but most times it's the female, if they've been married, who has managed their social life.
Mhm.
And suddenly, if the female passes away, they feel socially isolated and they don't really know how to go about it. And they may not cook like you do. So they feel a little bit less like they could have people come in. Yeah, I think it is a very isolating thing. And once again, clubs come to the rescue, not just, they can do charitable work, but also for men, I think the Lions Club, the Kiwanis Club, there are clubs out there, Probus, where they can go and expand their horizons and meet new people and even just have a conversation, even if they're not real joiners. And I feel that my friend's husband is not a joiner, but if they at least have an outing, it gives them a new perspective.
Well, that's it, isn't it? Something to look forward to in the week. And
Yeah,
then, well, we build self-esteem, and if we repeat the activity, we start to make an identity around it. You say, I'm a bridge player. It's not just that, oh yeah, I know the game or I have played it, but no, I am a bridge player,
yeah.
and that's an identity. Or I help out at the Kiwanis Club, and I think in general, men are more used to measuring their self-worth by their jobs.
So
So
perhaps they
yeah,
need something like the Lions Club where they have a job within it to
yeah,
help other
I think
people.
so. I think so. I think that's
Yeah,
very good for many men that they
yeah,
then they can identify with that and they can be proud of doing it and feel they contribute. We all need to feel we contribute, don't we?
yeah,
And we all need to feel that we are helpful here. Otherwise, you think, oh, is it worth living? Kind of thing. You start to get discouraged and depressed.
absolutely.
Yeah. So you teach a low impact aerobics class,
I
and
do.
I'll bet you've noticed all kinds of effects in those of us who go twice a week.
Oh, I've got a darling class, including you, and I really feel so warm about going. Everyone is very appreciative, and the improvement that they've made is phenomenal. So it's been wonderful. I must say, I never took a course in how to teach, low impact aerobics, but when I had the cholesterol call in my late middle age, my doctor was darling, and she said, "Well, Kathleen, you have a choice. You can choose exercise and diet, or I can give you a drug. Which will it be?" And I said, "I'll take the exercise and diet." So I rode around on a bicycle for 3 months in the neighborhood, and then my darling husband won a 3-month membership at the Y for me at the golf table when he was in a tournament. And I've never looked back. I never exercised worth a hoot before that my entire life. And I coughed my way around the aquafit class. And then found, well, yes, I think I'm ready to do yoga, and then I think I'm ready to do real exercise classes upstairs in the gym, and then lifting weights. And so over a period of decades, I've learned to be able to do all these things, and as a teacher originally, I can teach it. So for me, this is a whole new area, and it's inspired me to plan, and it's inspired me to learn new music. We're now dancing to our low impact with modern music and contemporary music, as well as the 60s, 70s, and 80s. It's great fun for me to choose that. And the class is responding by learning more about the musicians and feeling really happy. There's a happiness that comes from music, as you well know. So it's cheered them on, I think. I have everything from 52 to 89 in my class. And the 80s are just as good as many of the 60s. So I'm
Well,
loving it.
it's a great success story. It's wonderful to listen to the people there. They're excited, they're enjoying it, we're all doing it, they're talking to each other, and it has this accumulating effect
Yes, and it's a social time. As you said, they're all talking to each other. They're coming early before class. They're they're leaving late after class. I mean, it really is a social time as well. So I think phys ed is highly underestimated by some people who've never been doing it. And I can't say enough for how it's changed my health. Within 3 months, she had another test done, and I was perfectly normal, and I've been normal for decades since then. So,
Wonderful.
you know, it shows you what can be done with exercise. I've never had to change my diet.
Well, one of the neat things about what you do, I think, is that you clearly have the consciousness of a teacher and you apply it in different ways. Whether you conduct a choir, whether you conduct teach an exercise class.
Well,
Um,
thank you. It's a building thing. You build from what they know and what they are able to do, and then you build and build. And you know, I've found with the exercises, as you know, we're going faster and faster because there are no gaps. I don't have to explain things. We're going boom, boom, boom. And yeah, no, it's wonderful to see how everyone is moving in time, and it isn't just aerobics. It's stretching. It's weightlifting in order to improve their muscle mass and their bones. You know, strengthen their bones. So you know, we're trying to do an overall lift of everyone there.
and it's an overall lift in several ways. It's an overall lift in mood and interest in all sorts of things. Do
Exactly.
you, do you have for people tuning in, whether they're seniors or whether they are children of seniors, is there any advice that you would give?
Well, I think it's get out there. Get out there and do something, you know, whether it's in your neighborhood or it's your larger community or it's getting involved in a club and, you know, doing something serious in the club, or just improving your abilities in order to keep yourself going. There is no point in being insular. If you are insular and in the house and doing nothing else, the chances are that your brain is going to start to atrophy. And that happens no matter what, but let's slow it down.
Very good. Thank you very much for that. I repeat almost tirelessly, and people don't always want to hear it. John Donne's "No man is an island entire unto itself." Right?
Well said.
Oh boy. Well, thank you so much for this conversation. I'm sure lots of people will get a lot out of it, and thank you for all you do.
Well, thank you for what you're doing. I think it's very valuable and it gives you a new point of interest in your life.
It does. It does. Thanks.